Hello and welcome in, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast. I see you laughing at my intro just because I'm running a fantasy football meth lab. Leave me alone.
No, I'm laughing because it's somewhat unexpected, but I love it so much. As soon as I heard the Breaking Bad theme, I was like, oh, I love this. This is great.
All right. Well, we are here today for Sleepers, Breakouts, and Busts with George Ruggiero. My first question before we get into anything, what is your favorite Mighty Ducks movie?
I'm going to go eat the deepest of cuts here, and it's not even going to be a Mighty Ducks movie. It's going to be the I think it was 2003 Stanley Cup Finals recap of them winning the cup.
Do you remember the old show? There was a cartoon of the Mighty Ducks when they first came out, and they were literally ducks. Looks like DuckTales mixed with the Mighty Ducks.
hockey DuckTales, and it was it almost looked like what was that Nickelodeon show where those kids played roller hockey?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name. It was awesome, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was that mixed with DuckTales.
Yeah, it was good, sweet. All right, well, before we get too far down the Mighty Duck wormhole here, you want to tell everyone where they can find you and your work?
Absolutely. If you guys are looking for some more awesome sports content, be that football, anything, I've got a couple places you can go. Head on over to TBQ Sports, now with the Bloodline Entertainment Network. So you can find us at TBQ Sports on Twitter and YouTube. You can also find our content at the Bloodline Entertainment Network on Twitter. And if you're looking for just me, you can find me on YouTube at GR4 Sports Bar, also on TikTok.
You should check out that TBQ Sports podcast when it goes live.
It's good.
One of these days, if you watch it, you're going to be able to watch me get a show canceled live on the air with my asinine comments about my ex. I swear I don't necessarily go and write these jokes about my ex-wife in advance. They just come to me. So, but sooner or later, I'm going to get you all canceled doing it.
Is it going to be us getting canceled, or are you just going to get arrested?
That's not nearly as entertaining, though, because I'm just in the comments and not on the show, so nobody gets to see me get swatted.
True, but I'm absolutely not going to be the one who's just ladies and gentlemen, we got him. I'm not gonna.
George Bush.
Yeah,
my Osama.
I mean, depending who on the show you ask. If you ask David, he might say yes.
That's just mean. Yeah, well, David hasn't seen the Mighty Ducks. Nobody takes his opinion.
No, he did. You missed it.
Oh, I know. He told me last time. He said, I seen it. It's the first thing I said to him. Oh, did you? He was on my podcast, I think, last month. I wore a Mighty Ducks jersey when he came on. Nice. I didn't tell him. I went in to cue my intro and I threw on the Ducks jersey and started messing with him. He didn't think it was as funny as I did. But
that's amazing. That's so good.
All right. Well, I guess we can move on from the Mighty Ducks since it's not football and get into it here. We have your sleeper, Rams rookie running back, Zach Evans. Yes. His 2023 Fantasy Pros projection has him as RB65, 233.6 rushing yards, 1.3 touchdowns, 9.5 receptions for 95.1 receiving yards and a half a receiving touchdown. They project him as a strict backup from the looks of it, which is odd considering, the fact that Cam Akers seems to find himself benched or kicked off the team every 3 weeks. Sony Michel retired. They cut Tion Evans. Who else do they have on this roster with him? Kyron Williams?
Kyron Williams, yeah. Who, I mean, that's essentially, is that not such a similar player? He's got 35 NFL carries to his name, and it's 4 yards a carry. It's not it's some exceptional second stringer, and
he was old when he came out too, and hasn't played in 2 years. So he's got to be 25 or 26. So.
Is he really?
I think he was 23 when he came out. He's got to be at least 24.
How old is he now?
I would say 24.
He's 22.
Oh, is he really?
Kyron Williams, yeah.
Am I not thinking of the? Maybe I'm not
I
thinking of
think you're
someone else.
thinking.
Maybe
Yeah,
I know
he's
it was
only
Rashad
22.
White. I thought it was him and Rashad White. There were two guys I really liked in that draft year, but avoided because they were old. Maybe he wasn't as old as I thought.
Was it Oh, who's a receiver for the Bears? Just
Velus Jones.
Yeah.
He's 40.
That he has to be like, that's the how is it slipping my mind again? I'm thinking about it's a basketball reference. What's his name? Oh, so good with the Warriors.
Oh, currently Steph?
No.
Oh, you talking old school Warriors?
No,
I'm not a basketball guy.
he played with the Warriors. How is it slipping my mind? Like everybody was joking. There's no way that man is only like 31. He's like,
oh yeah, I don't remember his name. I'm thinking a star, and it wasn't. But I hear you. Yeah, I feel like Velus Jones came in and filed his rookie paperwork and his retirement paperwork at the same meeting with the NFL. So I'm here. I'm a rookie, and I'm retiring. Thank you very much.
He is a second-year player at 26. Like, he's a second-year player. He's older than I am.
Oh, I'm older than him, but still, that's amazing. Oh God. Anyway, so what is it about Zach Evans that makes him your sleeper?
So other than what we kind of already ran through, which is the fact that the only people stopping him right now from having a starting role in year one is Cam Akers, who is one of the more inconsistent running backs in the last couple of years between the injuries, which of course you can never assume that somebody's going to get hurt, and you never want to assume that somebody's going to get injured. But at this point, there's kind of a track record there. And the sample size that we've got of his recent play is like 3 games at the end of last season. And he was good. But if you really expect me to like take face value, 3-game sample size, you have me very sorely mistaken. Like that is not, something I am very prone to doing. And with a player like Zach Evans, he has everything you want really in a running back, especially at the NFL level, be that his size, his play style. He can catch the ball. We saw it a good handful of times last season at Ole Miss. I think the main reason we saw him as a 6th-round selection is this was a pretty deep class. We had a very good handful of solid, strong running backs come out of college this year. Didn't have a ton of play time at the collegiate level. He was productive when he was on the field, but he had a handful of injuries at TCU. He got hurt, missed a couple games, and ended up being essentially, I don't want to say a second-string player with Ole Miss, but they did not expect to have the emergent Quinshon Judkins come out and, as a freshman run for almost 1,600 yards in the SEC. That is not exactly something you go into a season and say, you know what? This freshman, we just like 3-star freshman we got out of Alabama. Yeah, he's going to pop off and set some freshman records in the SEC. You can never prepare for that.
I was torn when I looked at Evans. When I did some rookie scouting and profiles, the talent, when he was on the field and when he was rolling, he looked like he could easily, like if you told me a year from now, the best rookie running back was not Bijan Robinson, I think my second guess would have been Zach Evans. He was that good. The problem was I channel my my Sonny from draft day, and it's character concerns for me. Everywhere he goes, he gets beat out by what looks to be an inferior running back. I mean, Judkins not so much now, but Kendre Miller was far inferior to him, and he beat him out cleanly. And then he gets beat out again at Ole Miss by obviously a great running back. But just it seems like everywhere he went, he was a 5-star recruit and just had everything handed to him. And he just seems like he kind of lacks the work ethic wherever you see him. And I don't know if based purely, he's George Pickens, the running back for me. The talent is there. It's can he put it together, and is the work ethic there, and will it ever translate onto the field? So if you told me,
I'll say this because I think that's a great comp, the George Pickens running back. And if you were to ask me going into last season what I thought George Pickens would end up being, it might be it's probably a very similar mold to this. It's, can he stay on the field? Which, again, Pickens had somewhat issues of that at Georgia.
Yeah.
Can he keep his work ethic up? Because he's got all the tools in the toolbox. If he's given that opportunity and he takes that opportunity, which, again, if you look at the Steelers receiving room, it's a very similar room, kind of thin, quick, but, strong. Kind of thin, quick, but 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 strong. Kind of thin, quick he's going to end up having the opportunity probably to get onto the field. It's, can he keep it up in the locker room? Can he keep it up in the weight room? Can he make an impression on these coaches? I think that comp is awesome. I didn't even think about that at first.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a work ethic thing. You're right. The tools are there. He has the whole toolbox. The tools are there. And if ever there was a situation, like you said, you just got to beat out Cam Akers. That's all you got to do. The coaching staff already freaking hates him, and he's injury prone. If ever there was a running back just ripe to be usurped here, it's Cam Akers by Zach Evans. I think it's just a case of, does he want to work hard enough to do it? Let's see. He's kind of in no man's land here with as far as ADP. He goes 64th among running backs, 197. So he's a last round pick or undrafted. Yep. With a bunch of guys who are pretty much dead for fantasy. Got some guys down here, younger guys, Abanikanda, Carter, Strong with some potential. Cordero, nobody knows what the hell to do with him. I like Kenneth Gainwell, so I'll take him. But some of these I've seen. We did one earlier for wide receiver. And when we scroll down, you'll see it too with the rookies you have, or Addison. When you scroll down, some of these people, it gets ridiculous, the names on these lists. We had...
there's Kyron. We just saw Kyron Williams drafted below Zach Evans. That's how we know what people think of it.
yeah, exactly. But it was funny. The last one, we were looking at Eli Moore for the wide receiver, and we scrolled down for his, and we got so far down, he was behind wide receivers like Julio Jones. There were 4 receivers that were retired, and Henry Ruggs above him, who was in prison. So,
Elijah Moore from Cleveland?
Yes, is so far down in ADP. What? Yeah, he's so far down in ADP on Fantasy Pros that he was behind like guys like that. Where it's just there were. I don't know what it just goes to show you that you get in drafts and you get these people who the casual people who recognize names.
Yeah.
And they say, I know that name.
I remember. Guy, yeah.
It's the episode of the league where you ever watch that show where Andre drafts, what is it? Chad Johnson or whatever. After he's retired.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is.
But like some of these guys in this range that we're looking at, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they're also productive. I mean, I like Dwayne McBride out of UAB. I mean, Patterson, we have no idea. I mean, this is looking at Patterson ranked as a running back. Is he listed as a running back in fantasy, or is he listed as a receiver?
That's a good question.
Because I would not be surprised.
As a running back.
I wouldn't be shocked if they just play him as like a slot guy this season with. I mean, they're going to kind of have to. They don't have a ton of receivers.
No, he's listed as a running back on Sleeper. I thought he had dual eligibility.
Very strange. That's weird to me.
It is. It definitely is. Yeah, no, I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Some of those are just weird. And like guys, other guys down there, like Abanikanda, I mean, once Breece Hall is healthy, I think Michael Carter even has the slot. Maybe even Zonovan Knight over Abanikanda right now, from what I'm hearing. Again, if you guys watch any of our content, Jets fan, I've been keeping up with their camp just because it's exciting for once, and I don't, feel sad looking at it. So, and with the potential to get Dalvin Cook, I think that's something that would even drop Breece Hall a little bit.
All right, well, let's move on. We have your breakout, which is Minnesota rookie, because you've gone all rookies. Minnesota rookie, wide receiver, Jordan Addison. Projections, negligible for rushing stats, 62.6 receptions, 820.3 receiving yards, and 4.7 touchdowns. He was someone, when I started doing my rookie profiles and whatnot, I wrote up an article for Player Profiler. It was him, head-to-head comparison with Quentin Johnston. And I was the Quentin Johnston guy. He was my wide receiver 1. I went in thinking, this is going to be one-sided. This is going to be an Addison hit piece. I think I ranked him in 13 different metrics or categories, and Addison won at 7-6. And I have no idea how, because I was the Quentin Johnston guy. So
yeah,
what is it that's going to have him as your breakout?
So it's kind of twofold. For one, I think people, like, based on his not so great year at USC, and that's relative to his years at Pitt, Jordan Addison is such a well-rounded receiver. His route running is excellent. His hands are great. His first step acceleration is ridiculous. He's got the measurables. He's had the production at the collegiate level. there was a bit of a down year after a huge year with Pitt. And keeping in mind his role, I think his role is going to end up being pretty big in this Minnesota offense, where they obviously wanted to throw the ball very much and very effectively they did last year. He's gonna, if you ask me, he should slot into that wide receiver 2 role day one, immediately. Adam Thielen played there last year. I think at this point, Addison, he's just faster, stronger, just as good of a route runner as Thielen. And Thielen last year, in that same role, had a 17% target share and over 100 targets. There is no reason in my mind that Addison should not break both of those. I understand you've got Justin Jefferson there, in that wide receiver 1, who's going to take up the vast majority of your targets. And now that offense gets a little bit deeper with bringing in a guy like Hawkinson for a full season. That said, I think Addison just gives a little bit of reprieve to those guys, because he should do what Adam did last year, just to a better level.
I love that it's driving Hawkinson's ADP up and Addison's down. Hawkinson's never been a target monster. I like Addison far better. Like, I think Hawkinson hurts the most out of the 3 as a trio.
Sure.
You're going to have all those games where they're just going to throw to Jefferson so much that defenses are going to have to double team and bracket him. And that's going to leave Addison running, just running wild all over. I think he could be awesome. He is, I believe, when I put up my final rookie wide receiver ranks, I think I have him as my wide receiver 1 among the rookies for this year, above JSN, Johnson, and not Bateman, Flowers. But
yeah,
we look at him here. He's wide receiver 37. I think that's a pretty good bargain. 86th overall. We have the aforementioned George Pickens. I would take Addison over him pretty handily. Unless you have playing a league where you get bonus points for one-handed highlight reel catches, I'm kind of souring on Pickens, which is weird because I was the Pickens guy. But
I like Pickens. My whole thing with picking most of Pittsburgh's offense this year is I don't love their offensive line. Their offensive line needs some help for sure. And I'm not the big Pickett guy. I'm not a huge Kenny person. I think his floor, coming out of college, in that draft, it was not a quarterback draft really. I think his floor was very high, and he was polished coming out, but I don't know how high his ceiling is. And I think that's what could end up hindering that offense.
Yeah, you've got him going in a range here with Kadarius Toney. Why are we still doing this with Kadarius Toney? He's hurt already.
He's hurt.
One day of practice and he's hurt. I don't get it.
Isn't he going to miss, correct me if I'm wrong, for Kadarius, he's going to miss time, isn't he? He tore his meniscus.
I don't know if they said how long, but yeah, it's going to be time.
Now I'm curious because I remember seeing that he had to have, it wasn't like an arthro, it wasn't a scope.
No, they cleaned out his previous knee surgery. They had to go in surgically and kind of clear it out. So yeah, I would assume he's out. At least a month.
It might be a good couple weeks of the season. I'm seeing that he full on tore his meniscus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they were just cleaning up his previously torn meniscus. I thought he was going to miss a month, but who the hell knows? It's Tony. You'd be lucky if he only misses a month.
Torn meniscus. There's a slight chance, according to Andy Reid, he'll be in for week 1, but
yeah. How long will he stay in? But I mean, to be fair, even if he does play week 1, he's just going to get ejected at halftime anyways, because that's what he does. But
for doing something crazy.
Yeah. So let's move on to the one that's going to get you tons of DMs. This is going to be great. Your bust is Atlanta Falcons rookie running back Bijan Robinson.
Yep.
Fantasy Pros has him as RB3 for 1,153 rushing yards. The first time I seen that, I said, my God, that's got to be the biggest stat line I've seen for a rookie running back ever. 8.6 rushing touchdowns, 38.7 receptions, 329.7 receiving yards, and 2.1 touchdowns. And that right there, I think, is why he won't match his, what is he, RB3, 4 right now? 38.7 receptions is not enough to make him a top 3 running back, in my opinion. I could be wrong.
No, you're already leading me into my big point with this. And this is nothing disrespectful to Bijan Robinson, because I think he's going to be a star in this league for a long time. Talk about the toolbox. He's got all the tools. He's got a full snap-on set. He's got it all. And this is a big toolbox. He can really do everything. And I think he's going to be a star at the NFL level. And he's going to be relevant. He's going to be fantasy relevant as a rookie. There's a couple things, though.
I'm going to type this up. I'm typing up your quote right now. Bijan Robinson is a big toolbox. That's what I heard, right? That's what you said.
Yes, absolutely. The biggest toolbox. The biggest even. Don't go into detail on which tools. I'll leave that up to the people on Twitter, or is it X now?
Oh God! Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
What are we calling it?
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
No, it's fine. Bijan, he will be fantasy relevant this year. There's no doubt in my mind. He will be fantasy relevant in year one. That said, it is the fantasy managers and the fantasy football, I don't want to say full community, that is going to eventually make him look like a bust. And when I say bust, I don't mean, he's going to be terrible, he's going to be bad. I think he'll be very, very good in year one. My only thing is he is not going to hit everybody's super high expectations, because we're saying he's the best running back in football in year one. Yep. Do you know the last person who was RB1 coming out of college? If I remember correctly, I could be wrong. But
Barry Sanders?
I mean, might as well have been. I think fantasy-wise, it was Saquon Barkley.
Okay,
coming out of college.
That makes sense. I would have said Saquon or Zeke, but either way.
Keep in mind, Saquon Barkley at that point with the Giants, that was their offense. He still is their offense, pretty much.
But that's the point, though. As a rookie, he had not Daniel Jones. He had freaking old caveman there. Eli Manning. Eli Manning was his quarterback, checking down pass after pass. He was a check down machine. That's not going to happen here.
He had to be. I think his head coach was his head coach Pat Shurmur at the time.
Oh, good God. That sounds about right.
Think about that for a second. His head coach at the time, if I remember correctly, was Pat Shurmur. Their wide receiver one was Sterling Shepard, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And it was Eli Manning as their quarterback. And that isn't to say that the Falcons are just, a breath with talent offensively. But at the same time, you're talking about Arthur Smith, who loves to run play action, which I understand. You need to have a good run game, but you've got another 1,000-yard rusher on the team. You've got Drake London, who's an absolute stud. Kyle Pitts, who's going to get targets, because, at this point, if he doesn't get targets, he's going to want out. And you've got a rookie quarterback in Desmond Ridder who wants to prove himself at the NFL level. Yeah, all of these things to me equate to not Bijan being poor. Bijan is going to be a very, very good player. He's going to be fantasy relevant. I don't see why people are drafting him 1-1. I have actually seen him go 1-1. That in itself is mind-boggling to me. Yeah, it's the Look, he's RB4.
The numbers don't add up. The numbers don't add up. He's
the
not
numbers, Mason. The numbers.
He's not going to give you the Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry 1,500 yards on the ground.
No.
He's not going to give you the Kamara, McCaffrey, Eckler 80 catches. He's going to give you what they have. What do they have? 1,100. I got rid of it. 1,100 with 40 yards. Catches. Call it.
Yeah,
that's not enough for a top three.
No, and cool. If this is taking dynasty into account and you really want him long term, where you think he's going to end up getting more, because, I think Tyler Algier is going to have another solid year.
Me too.
Somebody argued with me, someone I was talking to, and this has been the other half of a lot of the argument regarding Bijan Robinson potentially being.
Was it David? Was it David arguing with you? Has he watched football? Does he watch football?
Oh, he watches the Bears. We can count that as football.
So no, not really.
But
not really. Yeah. I've heard a few of his takes and his arguments with you, and I'm like, I don't think he knows what football is.
So I'm not going to go that far. I do still have to talk to him on Wednesday.
I was just going to quote tweet that.
Go for it.
George says David doesn't watch football.
But here's my big thing with all of that. like, just look at the expectation there. Cool. Like, do I think he's still going to be great in Dynasty? He'll be good years down the road. But like, if we think Tyler Algier is going to take up a large carry share, sure, that's fine. He rushed for 1,000 yards last year. And I'll say this, the other argument I keep getting is, if Tyler Algier is actually that good, why did they draft him at 8? If you looked at the Falcons last year and looked at their draft strategy based on their talent from last season and their depth chart, they were going to pick BPA no matter what. That team is so, like, I don't want to say completely devoid of talent, because I just named off a couple guys that were good, but they need so much at so many different positions. Whoever was number 1 on their draft board still left there at 8. It didn't matter position. They're taking him. Yeah. And Bijan was BPA there. I think it's as simple as that, because I think Algier is still going to get his touches.
Oh, no, I agree. I have him late in a lot of my drafts, so I agree 100%. Well, that concludes Sleepers, Breakouts, and Busts with George Ruggiero. George, you want to take another second here? Tell everyone where they can find you and your work.
Shameless plug V2. If you guys want some more live football action, go on over to TBQ Sports on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We go live on Wednesday evenings. Right before we go live on our own account, we are now associated with the Bloodline Entertainment Network, so please be sure to go give them some love as well. And if you're looking for some solo content, maybe even, it's what I do. I'll give a quick breakdown. Follow me on TikTok and YouTube at GR4 Sports Bar, where we talk about sports of all kinds. First episode, which I just did last week, was about baseball, and I think this one's going to be about Formula One, where we pair every single episode with a different drink review, hence the Sports Bar name. I thought it was a little fun thing I used to do.
Awesome.
Do stuff on TikTok with that all the time. So if you guys want to hit me up there, I'm taking sports requests and drink requests. So, and make sure you hit me up on Twitter at KingGeorge94 for my personal account.
That sounds awesome, man. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thanks again to George for joining me, and thank you all for tuning in. Take care and have a good night.